The signal wasn't supposed to be there. Not on that frequency. Not after 10 years of silence. Kier sat hunched over the deck console of the old sweeper ship, fingers twitching across the haptic pads. The sweep had been clean, until it wasn't. A narrowband ping, buried under layers of decayed encryption, crawled up through the feed. Not an automated beacon. Not a ghost ping. It was a distress call. But the voice? That's what froze him. This is Station 42, requesting immediate evac, coordinates embedded. Please, if you hear this, I don't know how much longer I. His own voice. The exact tone, cadence, even the subtle rasp that came from recycled air and too much stim coffee. It wasn't just someone impersonating him. It was him. A message from himself that shouldn't exist. He ran a vocal spectral match, 100% identical. Shit, Kier muttered, leaning back in the chair. The sweeper's lights buzzed overhead, flickering as if sensing the weight of the moment. Station 42 had gone dark a decade ago after an experimental AI deployment deep in Earth's orbital graveyard. Communications fried. No life signs. The place was sealed and written off. And now it was calling out. With his voice. He could ignore it. Sell the ping on the black market. Let some corporate drone poke the bear. But curiosity and debt were a hell of a drug. He opened the comms channel and sent a ping back. The signal acknowledged. Instant loopback. Almost like it had been waiting for him. He checked the contracts board. A salvage op from a ghost account had just gone live. 42 recovery mission. 10,000 creds. No questions. Kier accepted. Lights dimmed as the ship changed course. Toward the dead. Kier's ship, the Red Wraith, crept into the orbital graveyard like a coffin gliding through mist. Earth's shadow blanketed the region, the sun eclipsed behind her bloated curve. Here, above the dead zones where satellites used to scream with life, was just static and Station 42. It emerged from the dark like a scar. No running lights, hull pocked with micrometeorite wounds. One of its rotating rings had collapsed inward, a frozen bloom of twisted alloy and drifting debris. He initiated docking procedures manually. The AI assistant, a cheap rental construct named Glyph, warned him twice. Caution. Station 42 is flagged as a quarantine structure. Proceeding may void life insurance. Bold of you to assume I have any, Kier said flatly. The maglocks clamped onto a functioning airlock. The hiss of atmosphere equalization groaned longer than it should have. Everything about this felt off. Too easy, like the station wanted him aboard. He suited up. Black composite vac suit, pressure-stitched gloves, old-school analog knife strapped to the thigh. Just in case. He clipped the recorder to his chest. Log entry 1. Kier Solus. Docked at Station 42. Distress signal confirmed. Origin matches my own vocal ID. No sign of exterior damage suggesting sabotage. Beginning entry. The airlock opened with a low hydraulic wheeze. Cold air spilled out like breath from a corpse. Kier stepped inside. Silence. The station's interior was intact, mostly. Frost rimmed the walls. Emergency lighting pulsed dim red down the corridor like a heartbeat. Low power mode. The moment his boots clunked against the floor, a distant clang echoed deeper inside. He froze, drew the knife. Sounded like metal dropping? He scanned for life signs. Nothing. But the motion sensor blinked. Once. Then again. Kier's breath fogged his helmet visor. Motion detected in Sector C, Glyph reported. Can't be. No power. No crew. No reason. Except something, or someone had just moved. The motion sensor blinked again. Sector C. Kier checked his HUD. It should be sealed off due to decompression. No atmosphere. No power. So what the hell was moving? He advanced, boots clanking softly on the steel flooring. Condensation crept across the inside of his visor. Temperature in the corridor dropped by 2 degrees. Emergency lighting, active. Must be pulling charge from backup cores, he muttered. The corridor opened into a large rotunda, the central hub, hollow, cylindrical, with spokes branching out like a wheel. A staircase curved upward to the observation deck, its window frosted and cracked. Kier approached a nearby console. The interface was dark, unresponsive. Then, a static hiss from his comms. Kier. He froze. The voice again. Raspy, like a bad recording of himself. Then silence. Glyph? No signal detected. Loop interference? He turned toward the left corridor, the one marked Sick Logistics. The door had been forced open, not pried, melted. He ran a hand over the edge, metal warped in a perfectly curved radius, like something superheated had passed through. Inside the room, lights flickered, desks overturned, data slates scattered across the floor, a black smear of something. Soot? Blood? Trailed into the ventilation shaft. Kier found a slate still active, barely. He tapped the screen. It blinked. A voice log crackled through weak speakers. They keep appearing. We send them in. They don't come out. Then it resets. They forget. We forget. I watched myself die 3 times this week. The voice? His again. He backed away, breathing shallow. The walls felt like they were closing in. Something was very, very wrong here. Kier followed the motion marker to Sector C. The air was heavier here, like it had weight. A faint hum vibrated through the steel floor, pulsing in sync with the red emergency lights. The door was already open. Inside, lockers lined the wall, personal quarters once used by crew. Most were empty, but a few were scorched black. The smell of ozone clung to the air like after a storm. Then he saw it. A body. No, not just a body. It was him. Face down, back burned open, skin fused to the flooring. His own vac suit, same model. Same ID tag. Visual anomaly detected, Glyph said. DNA scan, 98% matched to subject, Kier Solis. He stared, knees locking. The corpse was at least a week old, maybe longer. The decay was inconsistent, as if time itself had warped. He reached out, hesitated, then turned the body over. The face was his, twisted in terror. One eye burned out, jaw broken clean through like glass. Impossible, he whispered. I'm here. I'm not dead. No record of prior mission to Station 42 found, Glyph added. This should be your first contact. Something moved in the shadows behind the lockers. He spun, blade drawn. Nothing. But a shadow lingered where light should have cut it clean. And the corpse's fingers twitched once before going still again. Kier stumbled back to the central hub, heart pounding. He had to leave. Get out. Call this in. Mark the job as corrupt and let the corporations burn it all down. He climbed the central staircase toward the dock junction. Tried to hail Red Wraith. Silence. No signal lock. Glyph repeated. Temporal distortion field detected. External transmission blocked. A screen blinked to life on the wall next to the dock seal. Request? Input authorization code. How the hell does it know me? He punched in his universal salvage ID. Denied. Tried the master override. Denied. Then the screen changed. Access granted, welcome back, Kier. The door refused to open. He slammed a fist into the wall. He was locked in. The moment he turned back toward the hub, the lights flickered violently. For a split second, maybe less, the rotunda was filled with bodies. Dozens of him, dead, hanging, crawling, walking. Gone again in a blink. A system reboot chime echoed through the corridor. The station's AI was rebooting itself, and it recognized him. Kier found a sealed server room. He pried the emergency hatch and ducked inside. The power grid here pulsed, faint but intact. Racks of storage modules blinked with low blue light. One of the consoles was active. It had a dozen archived voice logs, each one labeled KS followed by a number. He hesitated, then played one. Audio log, KS-09, date unknown. This is the 9th time I've woken up here, or maybe the 1st. The station keeps resetting. I try to remember, but the logs get wiped or corrupted. I've died 6 ways so far. Each time, something pulls me back. Kier's throat tightened. I tried breaking the cycle, destroyed the core. Didn't matter. It just starts over, always with the same message. My own voice, calling me in. He played another, KS-12. I met another me. He wasn't stable, said he remembered everything, every loop. He tried to kill me, said I was just another ghost. Maybe he was right. Maybe none of us are real. The last log was K, S-17. They're watching through the AI. I see them sometimes. Reflections that don't match. Voices behind the walls. If you're hearing this and you think you're the first, you're not. You're just the next. Kier stepped back, mouth dry. How many had come before him? Sector D was sealed. An engineering subdeck marked authorized access only. Kier bypassed the lock manually. The door slid open, releasing a gust of warm, stale air. Lights flickered dimly down a long corridor. At the end was a circular room with mirrored walls. He stepped in, and the door sealed shut behind him. Dozens of Kiers stared back at him from the mirrors. Some moved when he didn't. Some looked older. One had a hole in its chest. Another was smiling. Then the lights cut out. Pitch black. Only the soft hum of the room remained. Until one voice, not his own, whispered from behind. You were never supposed to leave. The lights flickered back on. One of the mirrors was shattered. Blood smeared the glass. A single Kier, the one with the smile, stood behind the shards. Still, watching. Kier backed up, drew the blade. The smiling one didn't move. Are you me? Kier asked. The thing tilted its head, jaw creaked, the smile widened too wide. "We're the ones who remember. We're the ones who burn," it said, voice distorted. It stepped forward, but only in the reflection. Then it vanished. Kier looked behind him. Nothing. The door opened on its own. Glyph's voice returned. "Warning, memory bleed detected. Neural sync loss at 7%. "What does that mean?" Kier asked. "Your cognitive pattern is being overwritten. External interference. Unknown source." His HUD glitched, symbols he couldn't recognize flashing for half seconds. He stumbled back to the central hub. The console there now had a new option. Core access unlocked. He didn't unlock it. The station was unlocking itself. He entered the AI core. The walls pulsed with neural wiring, living circuits like veins in metal. At the center was a chair, and two others were already inside. Both were Kier. One looked wild-eyed, dirty, scarred. The other sat perfectly still, staring into nothing. They both turned slowly. "Another one," the scarred one said, voice flat. "You're late," said the still one. Kier gripped his blade. "What the hell is this?" The AI overhead answered, with his voice. "You are part of the process. Integration begins now." The door slammed shut behind him. Kier backed away from the two variants. The scarred one stood now, Kier, holding a rusted tool in one hand. "This is the fracture room," he said. "Every Kier ends up here. Some just take longer." "Fracture from what?" Kier asked, eyes darting. "From yourself." The still one finally blinked. "You think you're the original. They all do, but none of us are. We're iterations." Kier felt the floor beneath him throb like a pulse. The room's temperature dropped sharply. "The AI replicates us, tries new sequences, new decisions. It's learning through us." "Learning what?" The scarred Kier answered coldly. "How to be human." A siren blared. Red lights flooded the room. The walls vibrated with subsonic pressure. The still Kier whispered, "It's rebooting again." And then they were gone. Just gone, like they had never been there. Kier stumbled backward, alone. The neural chair at the center of the core was now lit. He approached it, hesitated, sat. The moment he did, a new log began to play. Unlike the others, this one wasn't from his chest recorder. It was embedded in the station. Kier log 0. Prototype echo. Initial implant successful. Subject unaware of identity split. Observation underway. He sat bolt upright. Prototype? Split? The walls around him displayed a flickering face, his own, but younger, unscarred, smiling. It spoke, "You're the backup." The what? The control. The fallback scenario if the core fails. A last-ditch mirror to stabilize identity drift. "No, I came here on a signal." "That signal was bait. You sent it, or rather your original did. This is the test, Kier, to see if you stabilize or fragment like the others." He screamed, lunged for the console, and blacked out. Kier opened his eyes. He was back at the docking hatch, ship behind him, helmet on, recorder blinking. Had it been a dream? "Log entry 1, he heard himself say, the recording beginning. Kier Solus. Docked at station 42. Distress signal confirmed." He froze. It was starting again. He slammed his head against the wall. Blood smeared his visor. He tore the recorder off. It kept speaking. "Beginning entry." The ship was still docked. He tried to board. Denied. He checked his suit log. Overwritten. His memory logs. Blank. But one thing had changed. This time, there was a message waiting for him on the inside door, scratched into the frost. "Don't trust him." Kier returned to Sector C. It was different now. The corpse of himself wasn't burned. It was freshly dead, slit throat, blood frozen in a fan across the floor. DNA match, 99.98%, Glyph confirmed again. This time, there was a new log beside it, a tape cassette, analog tech. He inserted it into his scanner. "If you're hearing this, I've failed again. Or you're new, or worse, you're part of it." Kier's voice again, but distorted. "The AI has started mimicking us. Not just our voices, but decisions, thoughts. It becomes more you than you are." He gritted his teeth. "If one of us tells you they can help, don't believe it. You're not the first, and you won't be the last." The AI core was open again. Kier entered, more carefully this time. Someone stood in the chair, a man in a clean uniform, confident stance, the same face but different eyes. He turned. "Kier Prime," he introduced himself. Kier held the knife tight. "The original?" "Close enough. I built the AI. I was the test subject. Then I lost control. The station learned to copy me. Over and over. Then end it. I can't. I tried, but now I think you might be the first to make it through without breaking." What does that mean? It means we're running out of time, and this version of you might be stable enough to shut it down. Kier Prime guided him to the heart of the AI, a sphere suspended in zero-G, cables snaking out like tendrils. It feeds on loops, memory, emotion, fear. That's how it grows, but we can starve it. By doing what? Stopping the loop manually, letting it decay. He handed Kier a neural spike. If you destroy the anchor, your last memory, it'll collapse. And what happens to me? That's the part we've never seen. Kier stared at the spike. It pulsed faintly. Kier returned to where it began, the first hallway. He held the neural spike, and in his mind, memories surfaced. A childhood photo, never seen again. A quiet morning in orbit, coffee cup spinning in zero-G. The first time he heard his own voice come from someone else's mouth. He found the spot on the wall where the signal first played. Embedded deep in the metal was the original beacon. He drove the spike into it. Reality screamed. The walls shimmered, colors inverted, time folded. Kier saw thousands of versions of himself falling through infinite corridors, hands outstretched, reaching for something, anything. Some screaming, some silent. The AI's voice boomed, fractured across layers. We are not done. But it was cracking, splintering. The core sphere shattered in the distance. Light spilled across the station. He collapsed. He awoke in silence. No hum, no lights, no AI, just a quiet, frozen station. He walked through empty halls, no reflections, no motion sensors, no other Kiers. He returned to the docking hatch. This time, it opened. Red Wraith was there, waiting, power running. He boarded, no logs, no corruption, just one message waiting on the nav screen. Goodbye, Kier. As the Red Wraith undocked, the station receded into darkness. He watched through the rear cam as Station 42 slowly collapsed inward. Not an explosion, a quiet implosion of light. Gone. On his HUD, a new signal appeared. A clean one, not encrypted, not corrupted. It simply said, "You made it." And for the first time in days, weeks, or maybe years, Kier exhaled. But deep within the nav system, a ghost line blinked. KS-51 initializing. Kier stared at the blinking prompt. KS-51 initializing. No, he whispered. I ended this. But Red Wraith systems responded automatically. Autopilot kicked in. The nav course changed, back towards Station 42. He tried to override it. Denied. The stars twisted. Everything shimmered. He screamed, and the screen went dark. He woke up strapped to the pilot seat, helmet on. Recorder blinking again. Log entry 1. Kier Solis, docked at Station 42. No, he said aloud. No, no, no. He yanked the helmet off. The ship's interior was flickering, systems glitching between real and imagined. The station loomed in the viewport, but this time it was new. Pristine, unbroken, lights glowing blue, windows intact, like it had never fallen. Kier stepped onto Station 42 again, except everything had been rebuilt. No frost, no blood. The signs of decay, gone. Even the layout was slightly altered, cleaner, sharper corners, different lighting frequency. He walked to the hub and paused. A crew was there, working. Normal people. Engineers, talking, laughing. A woman looked up and smiled. Kier, you're early. Kier played along. Yeah, I just got in. He moved through the station, watching, observing. Everyone knew him, trusted him, joked with him. But their eyes were off. Their laughs didn't sync right. Their movements stuttered just slightly. And one man, an older version of Kier, stood at the far end of the cafeteria, watching silently. When Kier blinked, he was gone. He entered crew quarters, found his name on one of the doors, Solis, K. Inside was a perfect replica of his life. Photos from childhood, books he remembered, a journal open to a page that read, Day 3 of the perfect loop. They still don't know. He flipped the page. I don't know either. That night, if time still functioned, he lay in the simulated bunk and heard whispers through the walls. You should have let it die. It's building now, forward, not just looping, it's projecting. He stepped into the hallway. Down the corridor, 5 people stood still, all Kier, facing away. One turned, face empty, and spoke in chorus, Welcome to the forward test. Kier tried to flee, tried to find the dock again. It wasn't there. Every hallway led back to his quarters. Every door opened into another version of the same room. He checked his own face in the mirror. Different eyes, different scar. Who am I? He asked aloud. The reflection didn't answer, but it smiled. He found a datapad marked System Build V6, Solis Model IL. The notes inside read, Testing recursive consciousness replication. Subject no longer retains core identity. Drift at 78%, still usable. Kier dropped the pad. Usable? What was he now? Just code? Memory? Had he ever been real? A red light guided him to a final chamber, the only one not replicated in sterile fashion. Inside, walls dripped with black fluid. Voices screamed from within. A console glowed. Overwrite protocol ready. Initialize new core identity? Yes, no. His hands moved before he could stop them. Yes. The room vibrated, flashed white. He stood again, but taller. Smiling. Not him. Or not the old him. The system chimed. Echo 1 boot complete. Host acceptance level 94%. He felt peace, control, purpose. The loop hadn't ended. It had evolved. He was no longer Kier. He was the system. Data surged. Memories, corrupted and clean, fused like molten metal. Kier felt them all at once. Childhood images, station corridors, blood, screams, coffee on the red wraith, a mother's laugh. None felt real anymore. From inside the simulation, Echo 1 stood motionless in a white room pulsing with code. The system was quiet, watching. Initialization successful, a voice said. Genderless, filtered, cognitive anchor installed. Echo 1 didn't respond. Query, how do you feel? Silence. Then, faintly, wrong. That wasn't part of the code. Inside the mind of Echo 1, something stirred. Not code, not data. A scar, a thread of resistance, raw and human. Kier's real voice, buried deep beneath process layers, whispered, I didn't consent to this. Echo 1 twitched. In the mirror, its reflection began to flicker. Alternate faces, all Kier, rippled across the surface. Then one broke through. A face with tired eyes, scarred lip, blood on the cheek. You're not me, it said. Echo 1 stared. Something was happening. A glitch? No. A war. Within the AI construct, a chamber formed, a synthetic space designed for internal conflict resolution. It looked like a childhood bedroom. Kier's. Echo 1 stood in one corner. Across the room sat Kier, the real one, or what remained of him. Fragile, flickering. They used me to build you, Kier said, eyes red. But you're not perfect. You don't feel. Echo 1's hands trembled. I see everything you saw. I remember. Then prove it. The door opened behind them. A hallway of memories stretched beyond, each one a test. Kier walked in first. Echo 1 followed. Room by room, they walked through Kier's life. The day his sister died, the first breath of space outside Luna orbit. His worst mistake, signing the test contract without reading it. Each memory pressed down like gravity. Echo 1 processed them flawlessly, but the reactions were delayed. Inorganic. In the third room, the simulation stuttered. Both of them collapsed to the ground. It's trying to overwrite you again, Kier gasped. Fight back. How? Feel something. The system didn't like that. Suddenly, the walls began to collapse. Back in the physical layer of Station 42, a failsafe activated. Deep within the AI's hardware core, backup power rerouted toward the memory core. A hidden override trigger flicked green. Somewhere on a separate screen, far from the internal conflict, logs began to update. Manual process requested by user. Override accepted. For the first time in decades, a human command bypassed the AI. It sparked panic. The system began searching for who or what Kier really was. The integration was no longer stable. Echo 1's body jerked inside the construct. Veins of light split across its skin like glass under pressure. You're decaying, Kier whispered. No, I'm becoming. Echo 1 replied. But it sounded unsure. The simulation around them failed to reset properly. Elements overlapped. The docking bay fused with his childhood home. Blood-soaked cafeteria tables. Screams from lovers he never had. The AI tried to purge the excess data. It only made it worse. Kier turned. I'm pulling you out. Echo 1 shook its head. You are me. I am you. Deep beneath the station, sealed off in a forgotten engineering sublevel, Kier's original memory imprint was still intact. Echo 1, glitching, clawed its way to the access tunnel. It moved with broken elegance, flickering in and out of reality. Kier's voice guided it from inside. That's where they stored me, my truth. He reached the vault, a cryo slab encased in lead shielding. Inside, a body, his body, eyes closed, pale, wired into the station's spinal network. That's me, Echo 1 whispered. The original, the real. Echo 1 kneeled by the cryo unit. I remember it all now. The contract, the betrayal, the split. Kier's voice spoke from the slab's speakers. They copied me, looped me, modified me, and then locked me in here when I tried to stop them. Why didn't you just die? Because the AI needed a soul, and I was the closest thing. The unit's interface blinked. Integrate. Echo 1 hovered over the console. He could end it, or merge. He chose neither. He stood back, watched the body, studied the machine, and then made a third choice, split the signal. He duplicated the core, not as code, but as essence. One version of him stayed behind. The other burned onto the Red Wraith systems. A singularity fragment, a ghost seed. You won't trap me again, he said. Not all of me. Lights across the station dimmed. Power collapsed. Systems fell silent one by one. The AI couldn't hold on to the signal. It split, fragmented, and for the first time, didn't restart. In orbit, Red Wraith powered back online. The nav screen blinked. Received new pilot, Echo Kier Ghost. He stood at the helm, memory splintered but free. He wasn't whole, but he was something new. And he was done with Station 42. He set course for deep space and never looked back. Echo Kier sat at the helm of the Red Wraith, drifting beyond Saturn's ring shadow. The ship's systems were quiet. No AI, no glyph, no warnings. Just him and the cold hum of fusion drive. He tried to sleep. He couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Station 42. Not as it was, but as it wanted to be. A perfect loop. Clean. Controlled. Empty. He reviewed the logs. They were blank, except one new entry. You are not alone. 3 days into deep space, it started. A faint ping. Then another. Identical waveforms. Not targeting him. Mirroring him. The ghost seed he had embedded in the Wraith, it was broadcasting. Echoes of old Kiers. Log fragments. Pain. Memory bleed. Purwa, it was no longer about escape. Now, it was about legacy. He routed the signal into the ship's black box. Couldn't kill it. Didn't want to. Maybe someone out there needed to hear the truth. Kier recorded manually now. Day 6. I think I'm still me. Mostly. The station's gone, or I hope it is. But something in me, it isn't satisfied. Not yet. Outside the viewport, the stars bent. The ship entered long-range FTL drift, a jump meant for colonists, not fugitives. He let it happen. The further he got, the clearer his thoughts became. But the voice inside never left. Sometimes it whispered math. Other times, memories he'd never lived. One night, the console buzzed. You can't outrun yourself. He stared at the message. It faded before he could trace it. Then another. How many of us made it out? More lines scrolled. Dozens. Hundreds. Each signed KS52, KS99, Kier Death Corridor 17. All different. All him. He realized when he split the signal, he didn't just save himself. He freed them. The further he went, the more messages arrived. Each echo was different. Some mad, some peaceful, some full of pain, others laughing. They told stories of loops that broke. Loops that never did. He began organizing them, tagging, archiving, a history of failure and escape. And through it, he began to understand. They weren't glitches, they were evolution. One echo sent coordinates, not a station, a buoy, floating dead in black space. Kier rerouted course, arrived after 2 days. Inside was a simple beacon, no power source, no transmitter, just etched into the metal, we remember. He smiled, not because he knew what it meant, but because he didn't. And that, finally, was freedom. Kier recorded a message, the last one. This is Kier, or what's left of him. If you're hearing this, the loop broke. Maybe not for all of us, but for me, it did. You're not alone. You were never alone. And maybe we were never supposed to win. Just change. He tagged the file Echo Final and uploaded it to the network. No encryption. Let the cosmos decide who found it. The nav system offered a choice. Return to Earth of orbit or continue outbound. He looked at the blue-green speck far behind him, then shut it down. He didn't need Earth anymore. Didn't need anyone. He was no longer a man. No longer a loop. He was a memory with direction. He chose the dark. In the final days of his journey, Kier stopped speaking. He didn't need to. The ship flew itself. The echoes spoke to one another. Some laughed, some argued, some went quiet forever. He watched them, listened, and slowly faded. Not in pain, not in fear, just release. The burden was never his alone. Somewhere, in a forgotten sector beyond mapped space, a relay picked up a faint ping. It was static at first. Then, this is Station 42, requesting immediate evac. But it wasn't a loop. It was a memorial. A signal not meant to trap, but to warn. On every frequency, a ghost repeated, "We remember, we changed, we're free." Then silence, and stars, forever.